Hello everyone, and welcome back to Toku Toy Theory, where I take a look at toys from various tokusatsu series and try to figure out why they look and act the way they do. In this episode, I'll be taking a look at Kamen Rider Gaim's first set of power-up forms, the Jinba Arms. Since they're essentially a multiple form in one set, I'll be looking at them all in the same video. So, without further ado, let's begin. So first off, because the changes to Gaim's base suit only happen after he changes into these forms, I'm going to take a look at that when we get to the form itself, and we're going to start off with the two new components, which are the Genesis core unit and the Jinba armor part. So first off, the Genesis core unit is exactly what it sounds like. This is the core piece of the Genesis driver that is used both to attach the energy lock seats to and to activate them. The interesting thing about this is that while within the toy you can press a button on the top of the Genesis driver to remove this, never in the show did they actually show a Genesis core unit being removed from the Genesis driver. Whenever one is seen separate, it is assumed that that one was made separate from any of the Genesis drivers themselves. And this is also interesting in that this is technically a variable unit, in that its functions change depending on which driver it is used with. The second piece is the Jinba armor part, which is interesting in that it is the first armor part to not be based on any kind of fruit. Instead, it seems more like it's designed to look like a piece of decorative armor, as can be seen by the long kind of chest plate-like structure on the front, as well as the shoulder piece-like structures on the top. And you can see that is the same pattern on all four sides, which is something that will be significant when we get to the Jinba arms themselves. And so for the Genesis core unit, it actually acts as a replacement for a faceplate when used with the Sengoku driver. Just like so, which actually raises a notch right here, which changes the functions of lock seeds used with it. So for all of Gaim's Jinba arms, they involve using the orange lock seeds and one of the energy lock seeds. And the first combination is orange plus lemon energy. And for the combinations, the orange lock seed is set on the Sengoku driver, and the energy lock seed is set on the Genesis core unit. And so, with this attached, swinging the cutting blade will activate both lock seeds at once. And so through that combination, Jinba Melon Arms is created. And when using a Jinba combination, they can also use, or Gaim can also use, combination special attacks. And also do it for the other two levels. And here we have Kamen Rider Gaim, Jinba Melon Arms. Now officially this form is called Jinba Melon Arms, and all of the others are called Jinba Arms. But the reason why I refer to them all as Jinba Arms is because Jinba is a poor romanization that has no meaning, but if we use Jinba for them, then it actually does give some context to this form, and it helps as an indicator to what it's based on. So starting off with the changes made to Gaim's base suit. The two changes are that the crest on his forehead changes from a gold color to a platinum color, and then his mouthpiece is filled in black. And one thing I actually wanted to point out that I just recently noticed, and something that took a long time for me to notice, is that Gaim's forehead crest is actually supposed to be a curved sword, with this part being the blade and this part being the handle, with the middle part being the guard. From there you can also see that the helmet part is the same as the orange arms, but changed to black, with the inner fins now being platinum to match the crest. Getting down to the actual arms itself, or the armor, it's now this more regal looking, or more elite looking samurai armor that has on the front a Jinba Ori, which was a surcoat worn over armor by high-ranked samurai. And so here we have what this is based on. Basically, when Gaim changes into any of his Jinba arms, he goes from a standard-ranked samurai to a high-ranked samurai. And so for the Jinba Melon Arms, the pattern on the inside is a layered pattern of the inside of the Lemon Energy Lock Seed, with Gaim's symbol there as a sign of his crest. And something that kind of goes along with the Energy Lock Seeds or Energy Arms pattern of having the arrived symbols be somewhere on the chest of the armor. And that's the part that the Energy Lock Seed creates. What the Orange Lock Seed does is obviously gives it this helmet piece as well as the orange inside the visor, but also gives it the same bumpy texture that the Orange Lock Seed has. And so even though the arms itself is not based on a fruit, it does actually mix together the two Lock Seeds involved. And obviously he uses the Sonic Arrow in this form, since he's gaining the power of the Energy Lock Seeds. And within this form, this also enhances Kamen Rider Gaim's strength. Going in sequential order, we'll next swap out Lemon Energy for Cherry Energy. And so that involves both removing the Lemon Energy Lock Seed, as well as deactivating the Orange Lock Seed. This creates Kamen Rider Gaim Jinba Cherry Arms. As you can see, for this one, the Jinba pattern is now that of the inside of the Cherry Energy Lock Seed. And while that is the only physical difference between the different Jinba arms, that being the pattern on the Jinba Ori, they also have differences in powers, specifically in what powers they give to Gaim. As I said, Lemon Energy gives him increased strength, and for Cherry Energy Arms, Gaim gets enhanced speed. Next up, we'll swap out Cherry Energy for Peach Energy. This creates Kamen Gaim Jinba Peach Arms. Of course, for this one, the pattern is the inside of the Peach Energy arm. And for this form, Gaim gains basically enhanced senses, most notably a more acute sense of hearing and sight. And finally, to round things out, we'll swap out Peach Energy for Melon Energy. And of course, this creates Kamen Gaim Jinba Melon Arms. Now design-wise, so what makes this stand out from the others is that it actually uses the pattern from the outside of the Melon Energy lock seed for the Jinba Ori. And while this was never used in the show or in any of the filmed materials, I personally believe that this would have given Gaim increased defense, as that feels like it would have rounded out the other three powers. And here we also get to the secret of the Jinba Arms, which anybody who's watched my original review of this figure would already know, but basically the thing is that the four sides all have the same pattern, and the other three aren't in use, fold up as the shoulder pads and back pad, or back armor. But they also contain the patterns for the other three Jinba Ori. And this is most likely why the Jinba Arms spins when it drops down on Gaim to attain one of these forms, as it's spinning around to switch to the designated Jinba Ori pattern for their arms. And I personally think it is rather ironic that this is the only form that Gaim didn't use, as for people collecting the belts and lock seeds while Gaim was airing, Jinba Melon Arms would have been the first Jinba Arms they would have had access to. But on a little side note, thinking on all this within the context of the series, I kind of have a theory of my own that within the series, Gaim wasn't, well, of course Gaim wasn't meant to have the Jinba Arms, as it was kind of given to him behind the backs of Yggdrasil. But I personally believe that it was originally meant to be given to Zangetsu. And for those wondering why he couldn't just, use the Genesis Core unit from his own Genesis driver, it's kind of implied that the one that was given to Gaim was a special prototype that in the series is the only one that actually is able to create these combinations. And I just kind of think that way because, obviously, you guys know that he's kind of Zangetsu is basically the link between the original Armored Riders and the New Generation Riders. And he's also the only other kind of samurai-based rider in the series, and works for the Yggdrasil Corporation. So I kind of think that in the series, the people at Yggdrasil were kind of planning for Zangetsu to get this special prototype so that he could use the Jinba Arms, and obviously the first one he would have used would be Jinba Melon, where it's most likely that for that, it would change his helmet in some of the same ways as with Gaim, and the pattern, or kind of the texture on the Jinba Arms, would be more similar to the Melon Arms than the Orange Arms seen here, or the Orange Arms pattern. But again, that's just kind of my own inferred theory, and there's no actual evidence or anything actually specifically said within the series or behind the scenes to prove or disprove this. And there we go. So overall, the Jinba Arms are interesting in that they are this sort of set of fusion forms where even though the two arms don't exactly create a new fruit, they do create a new armor that has elements from both lock seeds, and does serve to enhance the rider. And which lock seed it uses kind of changes around how he is enhanced. It also kind of created this trend in rider in the last few years where the rider would get kind of a fusion power-up as their first power-up before the standard super form and then final form. So there's that, and there is also the potential of what it could have been used for in the series, and it did get some different uses after the series in Gaim 2, with Kamen Rider Savior Blood-Sakura Arms and Kamen Rider Knuckle Jinba Melon Arms. But I do not have the toys for those, so I can't really go over them. But did have some additional use past the series, but even within the series it was still pretty interesting. So, next time, I'll be reviewing the Deluxe Go-Kaio. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and or subscribe, and you can check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/KRX50. And for now, this is KRX50, riding off.